Wow, it feels like forever since I just like sat down here to do this. This is so weird. So today's video, as you can obviously see, it's not going to be like a super formal makeup tutorial, intro, anything like that. I just kind of wanted to sit down and chit chat with you guys about kind of what's been going on. As you know, Hurricane Irma hit basically the entire state of Florida. Yes, my city was also affected, unfortunately. So I didn't post a video last Friday like I had intended to do because we were running around trying to make sure we had enough water and food to last for a couple of days because they weren't really sure, one, how bad it was going to hit us, if we were going to get the eye of the storm and what have you. So I thought I would just sit down and get ready for my day with you guys and just tell you a little bit about what's been going on. So let me pull my hair back here. And just do my makeup on camera for you guys today. So if you didn't see my Instagram, you may or may not have known. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you should go follow me on Instagram. It's Brooke J. Lockwood. Brooke J. Lockwood is my handle. But I posted a picture of this little guy. I got this guy on Friday before the hurricane. I was so incredibly surprised because like mail wasn't running for a couple of days beforehand. Things were shutting down. Like the whole city was shutting down, getting prepared for Hurricane Irma. And lo and behold, here comes FedEx with this guy in his hand. So I was really, really excited to use it. But like I said, unfortunately, things were kind of crazy. So I didn't get a chance to use it. If you don't know what this is the Yes Please pressed eyeshadow palette from ColourPop. It took me about 3 tries to get this thing, so if you were on the lookout for it and you haven't got it yet, don't give up because like I said, it took me 3 tries. It's an amazing palette. I swatched a bunch of them on my hand, and I'm priming my eyelids, by the way, with my normal stuff. If you watch any of my videos, you know exactly what this is. Like I said, I tried to get my hands on it before, a couple of times before, but every single time I went to go purchase it, it was available at like 10 or 11 on West Coast time, and since I was on the East Coast time, I was either at work or tied up into a situation where I wasn't able to get my hands on it, but I finally did, and I was so excited that I did. There are 12 shadows in here. They're all kind of in this pinky, burgundy, gold family. It's a really, really pretty palette. I swatched a couple of these on my hand and they are gorgeous, let me just tell you. The palette's only $16. It's an amazing quality. I have a couple of ColourPop shadows that I've used in the past. Some of their pressed Super Shock shadows. I purchased some of those. They're amazing. I really want to try the Super Shock blush as well as the Super Shock highlighters. And they also recently came out with a concealer, which I thought was really cool because it's only $6, which is cheaper than the Maybelline Fit Me's, which is amazing. Now granted, you do have to pay shipping because it does come from California. It's only $6, and I'll just stock up and buy, multiple things for the one order. So I hope to try that in the future, so if it's good, I'll definitely let you guys know. But yeah, I was definitely wanted to go in and use this palette today because when I got it in the mail, I was so bummed that everything was going so crazy with the hurricane. And I was like, oh, I really want to try this out, but like I said, I just didn't have the time. So I'm going to set, I feel like I can't, like I said, I haven't done this in so long, I feel like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to put this in my crease, Peach Smoothie from Makeup Geek. So basically what happened was I went to work on Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, which is my normal days to work. And I was supposed to work on Saturday. I work every other Saturday at the spa. And they came and they said that Hurricane Irma was supposed to hit Florida on, like, they weren't exactly sure at that point in time because it was still a Category 5 hurricane in the Caribbean. And they weren't sure if it was going to hit us directly on the East Coast, but that was its path. So they came into the spa and they told us because, the hurricane was due to hit on Friday and they knew that people needed to make arrangements and things like that, that we were going to close the spa. The spa that I work at is at the beach, so it's definitely in an evacuation zone. So they closed the spa down, so I ended up not having to work that Saturday or anything like that. Or Friday either, which I don't normally work Fridays, but I'm gonna go in with this first shade right here. It's called Big Cocktails, and I'm just gonna go right over what I did before. So I was fortunately able to get gas on Wednesday morning when I went to the spa. I was on E, and I was like, oh man, I don't even know if I'm gonna have enough gas to make it home, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that there might be a gas shortage for people trying to evacuate the area. And I had a break in between clients, so I left the spa and I went and got gas, and I was fortunate enough to get it because when I got there, all they had was premium left, but I did fill up our car. Fortunately, we do have a Prius, so it's really, really good on gas, and I got that filled up and went back to the spa. We did end up closing the spa early because a bunch of clients canceled their appointments in anticipation of getting prepared for the storm. So Wednesday, after I got out of work, I went to the Trader Joe's that's by my job, and I went and I got like tuna fish, and I got a couple of other things. But mind you, by this time, people were in a panic because the news builds everything up so big before anything even happens that people freak out. So there was no water, no bread, nothing like that in any store. No batteries for your flashlight. I'm gonna go back in with this shade right here, which is called Champs, and a smaller brush, and put this a little bit more in my crease. Sorry if I interrupt myself, I'm just trying to tell you what I'm doing. I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll basically try the grocery store by my house. And my husband and I, we have, I guess I should say he has a, like a charcoal grill, like one of those egg-shaped charcoal grills that hold this temperature for a really long time, and you can fire it up and cook it, obviously, without electricity. We went ahead and bought like some frozen pizzas and stuff because he has a pizza stone for that grill. Those kinds of things were definitely in stock in the store because nobody wants anything that's frozen or refrigerated in case you end up losing power. So we went and got some of those because we knew we would be able to heat those up and cook that, should we lose power. We didn't know how many days we were going to be out for. We were able to get, we had like a 5-gallon water jug from when we had lived in our apartment before. And we went ahead and we filled those two up, well, one of them up, and then we ended up filling the other one up at home. Just from the tap. Now, mind you, the tap water isn't like toxic or anything like that in Florida, but if you've ever been to Florida, tap water tastes terrible. But I was like, hey, it's better than having no water at all. So we got all that prepared, and then just kind of stuck close to the news, and I went and dug out the flashlight that I purchased from before for Hurricane Matthew, and I had batteries and everything like that. So we were all set. So now I'm going to go in with this shade right here. This is called Butter Cake, and I'm going to put that right over top in my crease. So we were all set. So we felt pretty good about it. We were a little bit nervous. We were really unsure about whether or not we should evacuate because my husband and I do not live in an evacuation zone. Well, I take that back. We do live in an evacuation zone. We're in evacuation zone D, but we are kind of sandwiched in between two evacuation zones A. So like where my husband and I is in South Jacksonville, kind of close to St. Augustine, which pretty much all of St. Augustine has to evacuate because they're right there on the ocean. And St. Augustine isn't as big of a city as Jacksonville, and they took a hit from Matthew really bad. So we are a little bit more north than that, kind of sandwiched in between these two rivers. The main river that runs through downtown Jacksonville is called the St. Johns River. If you live among that, you were ordered to evacuate. If you live at the beach, you were ordered to evacuate. We were not ordered to evacuate, but we did live in between two evacuation zones. So we weren't sure exactly what to do. Like, should we just play it safe and go ahead and go? Do we want to just wait it out? Because, like I said, with Hurricane Matthew, we didn't even lose power. So it was kind of hard because the news didn't know, and they didn't have enough information yet because it hadn't even hit Florida by Friday night yet. So we were just kind of unsure, but they were saying, like if you're going to go now, and because roads are going to be backed up, and they sure were. Like when I looked at the news, people that were fleeing out of Miami and more western Florida, they definitely got caught in some traffic, and so so we kind of weren't sure, and we were just thinking to ourselves like, I don't really want to go. If you've ever been in that situation, to have to like pack everything up and just leave like that and try to make sure that your house is secure so that, as little damage as possible. There's going to be damage in a hurricane, but as little damage as possible happens while you're gone. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, you need to do it if you need to do it. Like if we were in an evacuation zone, we would have left, of course. But being as we were not in one, it's kind of a personal decision that's left up to you. It is kind of like, I don't want to, but I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm like, man, I wish I would have. So we ended up staying, and we had food, we had water, we had flashlights, we had all that kind of stuff. Like I said, the neighborhood that my husband and I live in is fairly new. It's only about 4 or 5 years old, so there aren't a lot of really old, large trees anywhere. So we were, pretty confident of our decision to stay. But you can never be confident in a natural disaster. Mother Nature can turn course like that. So now I'm going to go in with Mischief right here and just deepen up the outer corner. So we stayed. So everything was fine. We actually even got some takeout on Saturday, and just kind of kept our eye on the news, and just made sure that we were hunkered down and prepared as best as we could be. We had a plan of attack and things like that, because by this time Irma had already started shifting west. So they told us that, you know, we are no longer obviously in direct path of the storm, but that we were going to have a lot more rain and wind because of we were on the east of it because it was heading west. And so we were kind of just like, okay, well, you know, let's just do as much best as we can to prepare. And we did. And it started raining pretty heavy, I would say maybe like late Saturday night into Sunday. And my husband works third shift, so he works from Sunday nights to Wednesday nights, so he had to go to work Sunday nights. So we were kind of like, oh man, you know, what are we going to do if he loses power when he's trying to work and all that kind of stuff. So we were just like, all right, well, you know, the Jacksonville office that he works out of is obviously closed because, you know, there's a hurricane coming. So he could contact his boss and, you know, everything was fine or whatever. He just was like, you know, do what you need to do to protect your family and to stay safe. So I, of course, went to bed. You know, the winds were kind of starting to pick up, but nothing to really make me feel too alarmed. So I went to bed Sunday night, and that's when it was supposed to hit us, like Sunday night into early Monday. And it was probably about 6 o'clock in the morning, I would say. I woke up and I heard the wind at that point in time, but it wasn't the wind that woke me up. The power went out at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and it woke me up because I have to sleep with a fan. Like, everybody in my family sleeps with a fan. I've slept with a fan since I was a little child. I have to have some kind of ambient, as I'm dropping brushes. I have to have some kind of ambient noise when I'm sleeping, otherwise I can't sleep. Like, I can't sleep, it drives me nuts. The silence just drives me nuts. And so the power went out and my fans went out. I woke up like that. Like, instantly I woke up. So I saw the time and I was like, okay, well, at least it's not that bad. I heard the winds pounding against the window and the rain. I went into, you know, my husband's office and I was like, oh, did we just lose power? He's like, yeah, we just lost power. But he had actually lost the internet a little bit before that. And he had been kind of just piggybacking off of his cell phone to finish his day out. But once the power went out, obviously, he wasn't able to finish. So he came to bed, and I tried to go back to sleep, but like I said, with no sound, it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, I cannot sleep with no sound. Like, I have to have some kind of sound. So I got up and went downstairs. You know, by this time, it was still gusting pretty bad. It was actually kind of scary. The back patio, our back patio is all fenced, or all screened in, and like the screens were really blowing and things. Like, we would get this gust of wind and it was blowing everything, and we had taken all of our patio furniture off and put it inside the house just to make sure. But the winds were really gusting. It was scary. So I just kind of sat down there for a little while and I fell back to sleep. And then about 8 o'clock or so, I woke up. And it was still windy. Like, the gusts were really strong, but it wasn't constant. It was more just like the gusts. So I got up and I took Mila's my dog. I took her out and I fed her and all that stuff. And just like, I started to move our patio furniture back out there because I was like, okay, well, it doesn't seem like it hadn't blown anybody else's patio furniture away. And I was like, all right, it's kind of warm in the house right now, so it's cooler to sit outside. So I just grabbed a book and I went and I sat outside and I just read, and it was scary a couple of times. One time I was sitting out there reading, and there's a pond that's like right here behind my house. Like, my beauty room faces the back of our house, and there's a pond right there. And as I was reading, a couple of shingles from one of the neighbors' houses flew off and like went whap into the pond, and it made this huge noise that scared the crap out of me. And I was like, oh my god. But other than that, nothing happened. I mean, it was fine. You know, our neighbor was out there, and I talked to him for a minute, and he said the same thing that I said. He had seen that the power went off at like 6 a.m. And so I just continued to read my book. Now, let me mind you, this is a book I have been reading since my cruise last year. Like, I just haven't had the time to sit down and finish it. And I was like, you know what? There's a hurricane. Now it's the perfect time to sit down and finish it. So I finished it. By that time, it was probably about like, I don't know, let's see, 1:30 or so. It was probably about like 1:30, and my husband had gotten up by this time, and it was probably no more than 20 or 30 minutes after he got up, the power came back on, and I was shocked. Like, I was so shocked because, I mean, from what it sounded like the winds were pretty bad. So next, before I continue on, I think I'm going to take a little bit of this one, which is called Note to Self, and then this one, which is called GNO, and I'm going to like fade Note to Self into GNO on my lid, and they're kind of like these metallic-y type shadows, so I'm going to use a little bit of Fix Plus to wet brush. So the power came back on, which I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it because they told us, some of the other neighbors that had been here through Matthew said that they were out of power for about a whole day, like a full 24 hours. And so I was really, really surprised that we got power that quickly. Not that I was complaining, because I was like, oh my God, I do not want to throw away an entire refrigerator full of food. It's really inconvenient to be without power, as most people know. So I was super excited that we were able to get it back so quickly, but we did not have internet as of yet, or cell signal. So my husband and I don't have cable TV. We just use like Hulu and Sling and all that kind of stuff. And so we had no idea like what was going on, how bad Jacksonville was hit. Like we were thinking, okay, everything's fine because, you know, we have power. Our neighborhood was fine. Aside from a few down branches and some shingles missing from some people's houses, everything seemed okay. I mean, nobody had any flooding, anything like that to contend with. So we were like, all right. So my husband and I got dressed and we were like, let's go check out his office in case he had to go in that night and work from there, since, you know, our internet was still down. When we went out to drive into Jacksonville and got into the car and turned on the radio was when we realized like how bad it was in other parts of Jacksonville, especially our downtown area, and a historical area that we have called San Marco got hit really bad. I mean, the flooding was crazy. And I guess they were saying that when Irma hit, it was high tide. I'm taking note to self now in the same brush. That it was high tide, and so I guess the combination of those two things together just really flooded it. And there's an area downtown called the Riverwalk. It's kind of by one of the YMCA's. I saw a picture of it. I mean, it was completely underwater. Like where we normally are, or where you would normally walk or sit or whatever, completely covered by water. I mean, it was insane to see. And we heard all these reports on the news about the Navy going to rescue people and stuff like that. Now, mind you, they were ordered to evacuate. So, you know, fortunately, I think most people had left, but there were some people that stayed that needed help getting out of where they were. And it was crazy because, like I said, in the area that we're in, it just didn't seem that bad. It was just nuts to hear. And when we got out and started driving, there were a lot of downed trees and that kind of stuff. And the wind had pretty much died down by that point as far as like gusting too bad. But a ton of people were out of power, a ton of people. But unfortunately, I was able to get a cell signal when we went to the area of town where my husband's job is, and I was able to, you know, get out to text everybody. You know, we were able to tell everybody that we were fine and that kind of stuff, so that was good. But Jacksonville got hit really, really bad in the areas by the river, and I was thinking that the beach was going to really have been hit hard too. Oh, I'm going back in with butter cake and putting that back in my crease. I was thinking that the beaches were going to be hit really bad too because of what Matthew did. But they canceled work for me on Tuesday, so I didn't have to go back to work on Tuesday. And, you know, the city was just working on giving everybody back their power and all kinds of stuff like that. And I mean, it was just, you know, hundreds of thousands of people that were without power and things like that. And all the grocery stores were still closed and everything, so it was kind of crazy. So Tuesday night, basically, because the city was, you know, in such a mess, basically, my husband's boss told him just not to go to work, you know, don't worry about it. He had somebody to cover, so he got to stay home with me. But Wednesday I did have to go back to work, and I was kind of like, oh man, I wonder what the beaches are going to look like. But when I drove to work yesterday morning, today's Thursday, when I went to work yesterday morning, I was actually surprised how good the beaches looked. I didn't have a client first thing in the morning, so when I got there, I got my stuff all situated, and I went and I walked down to the beach, and some of the dunes that they built after Matthew to try to keep, you know, to build the beach back up, and they had planted like baby sea oats and stuff like that. Some of those dunes were completely demolished. I mean, completely demolished, and some of them were intact except for like maybe like the first 4 feet. So I think the reason why the beaches didn't get it as bad as they would have is because of those dunes that they built for Matthew. But it is kind of sad to see that they worked so hard to get the beach back to where it was, you know, the dunes were nice and the sea oats were starting to grow, and then you see it's like a setback, and it kind of sucks, but at least everybody was okay. A bunch of the girls that work at the spa with me, they live at the beach, and they said that they had a bunch of down limbs and everything like that, but everybody was okay. There was no major structural damage to any of their houses. Some of them still didn't have power by Wednesday. But I'm going to go in with my Flower Beauty. I think I'm going to add a little bit of a wing to this because I think it just needs a little bit of black to kind of offset this. As you guys know, I have been loving this flower eyeliner. If you want to try like an eyeliner with a felt tip or like a liquid eyeliner, give this one a go. It is so good. Okay, so I've added my wings off camera, and I totally just realized that it is 1:24 and I have a dentist appointment at 2 o'clock. It's like less than a mile away, so I have to hurry up and finish this. So I'm going to get a move on. I'm going to go ahead and use my Pixie Hydrating Milky Skin Mist to hydrate my skin. I had to clean up a little bit of fallout from my eyeshadow because it was everywhere. I feel like I'm off my game because I haven't done my makeup in forever. But then I'm going to go in and I'm going to prime my skin with the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Primer in Ultra Light. Excuse me if I pass through this kind of quickly because like I said, I have to go to the dentist. But yeah, I told you the highlights pretty much about Hurricane Irma in our city, and things are starting to get back to normal. A lot of the businesses are opening. I did try to go to the store and get fresh produce because I just did not want to eat anything out of a box or a can anymore. And a lot of the stores still have not had fresh produce in, so that was kind of a little bit of a letdown. But I was able to go to the Publix down the street and get a few things. I haven't restocked up on everything, but I was able to get a few things. So that at least held us over. I was able to make a couple of salads. And then I'm going to go in with my CoverGirl Revitalized Healthy Elixir Foundation and my Beauty Blender. So I just dropped this everywhere. So things are getting back to normal, which is good. This is going to take the downtown area a little while to recover because one of the girls that I work with lives in San Marco, the historical area that got really flooded, and she still did not have power as of yesterday, and her home was flooded as well. So that was really one of the major things that affected somebody that I kind of know. So it was a little bit scary as far as that goes. But the city's doing a really, really good job of trying really hard to get everybody power again, to try to get things kind of restored and back to normal again. I think they were a little bit more prepared because of what happened with Matthew, especially at the beaches, because they built those dunes. I think things could have been a lot worse. And of course, had we taken a direct hit from Irma, it would have been a lot worse. We do live on the northernmost part of Florida, so it does have to cross the entire state when it comes from the south and when it comes from the west when we get hurricanes, so we don't get as affected as unfortunately like Miami and stuff like that. Just seeing the photos online and seeing the news online and stuff about how much catastrophe they experience and how the poor Caribbean has experienced so much just damage, and I mean basically an entire island pretty much wiped out. It was just really, really devastating and really, really sad. So I'm just blending this all in, as you guys know. I'm not sure how I feel about the Healthy Vitalist CoverGirl foundation on top of this primer. It's the first time I've tried it, so I don't know how I feel about that just yet. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to set underneath my eyes with a little bit of this Fit Me powder. Forehead with some of this as well, around my nose and my chin. I'm going to go in and finish the rest of my eyes. I'm just going to go back in with some regular black eyeliner. Then I'm going to go back into this Yes Please palette with my smudger brush from Sigma, and I'm going to smudge a little bit of this color right here, which is Mischief, into my into that black eyeliner. Just kind of mix the two together, and then so that doesn't look super duper stark, I'm going to go back in with where is my pencil brush? My favorite pencil brush from Crown Beauty, and I'm going to use a little bit of this orangey color right here. It's called Champs, and I'm going to kind of smoke out that a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my eyebrows off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I also put on my mascara while I was doing my brows because, like I said, I have to go to the dentist. I am already running late. I'm going to go ahead and contour my face. Whoops. When I get into a rush, I get really dropsy, so if you hear things dropping, just ignore that. I'm in a rush. I'm going to use my NYX contour palette and my NARS Eater brush to contour my face. I'm not going to do anything super crazy just because it's daytime, but I am going to carve out my chin just because with Hurricane Irma and with all the crazy weather that we've been having, what did I tell you? With all the crazy weather that we've been having, it's been hard to stick to a really healthy diet, especially having to eat stuff that comes out of a can and stuff that comes out of boxes that is not normally how I eat. Not to mention I haven't been able to run because it's just been raining here nonstop, and it's really, really frustrating, and I hate with a passion when I use the word hate, I mean it when I describe running on the treadmill. I hate it with a passion. So I have not been able to run like I normally do, so I have put on a couple of pounds that I am trying very, very hard to get off, and I've done really good this week. I've worked out every day this week so far, from Monday to Thursday. So that's good, but you know, it's just kind of one of those things. Oh, my hair's falling. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I mean, I can't help a hurricane, you know, and I am trying to get ready for a cruise, so I'm trying to drop a couple of pounds anyway, but you know what? Life goes on. What do you do? So I'm just going to carve out my cheeks and my jawline just to make sure everything is nice and sharp. Then I'm going to go in with my BH Cosmetics blush pot. My hair is totally falling. Okay, can I finish like this? There we go. I'm going to go with my BH Cosmetics blush palette, and I'm going to use a fairly neutral blush just because I don't want my cheeks to stand out too much. I'm probably going to go in with this one right there. It's kind of a peachy color. These don't have names, or else I would tell you, but these don't have names. And I'm just going to lightly dust my cheeks with that. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to blend the contour and the blush together so it looks nice and blended, and I don't have this huge stripe on my cheek. Just with a fluffy powder brush. Make sure my neck is nice and blended. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do my highlight, because I know I'm a little bit running late, but you can't leave the house without highlight. I mean, come on. And I'm going to be using this Makeup Revolution highlighter called Vivid Baked Highlighter in Peach Lights, and dust this on the tops of my cheekbones. I thought the peach would go nice with this kind of orangey, burgundy type look. I'm going to hit the bridge of my nose. And my Cupid's bow. Yeah, I like that. That's really pretty. Kind of a pinky, more pink than peach, I think, but it's pretty. I like it. Then to set it all off, I'm going to use my setting spray, and actually this was not the one that I wanted. I wanted to use this one underneath my foundation, but I got talking to you guys and I completely forgot. So let me grab a setting spray. So I'm going to set this all down with my tried and true Wet n Wild Photo Finish setting spray, Photo Focus setting spray. Then I'm going to go flat iron my hair really quickly and put on some lipstick, and I will be right back to say goodbye to you guys for today. Okay guys, so that's going to complete this video. I'm sorry I had to rush the end of it. I wish I could have sat and chat with you a little bit more, but like I said, I have a dentist appointment. I mean, this is real life, people. Gotta go to the dentist. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope you really enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit of a different kind of style for me. It wasn't necessarily like makeup, I don't know, tutorial. Like, I don't even think I really give tutorials, because I mean, who am I to tell you how to do your makeup? But I mean, you know, I love just sharing makeup with you guys, so that's why I do what I do. And I know this one was a little bit different for me, but I kind of want to let you guys know what was going on, because I did not post a video last Friday and I felt really, really bad for that. But hopefully you guys understand with all the chaos that was going on surrounding the hurricane. Everybody is fine. My heart goes out to all those people who have suffered so much damage and loss from this hurricane. I can't even imagine what that must even begin to feel like. So I'm going to stop rambling because I have to go. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please click subscribe to see more videos from me. Don't forget to subscribe as your best friend, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye!